The first month of the Red Sox 2023 season felt like it was 2 years long, but by the end of it, the Red Sox are looking pretty strong. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. I promise you I did not mean to rhyme there. That was a total accident. But either way, the first month of this Red Sox season is in the books after the Red Sox won their last series of the month, beating the Cleveland Guardians 2-1 after winning the rubber match yesterday. And this series really kind of was the perfect embodiment of what we've seen from the Red Sox so far this month. So what we're going to do in today's video is we're going to break down this latest Red Sox series. We're going to talk about the highlights. We're going to talk about the lowlights, and we're going to talk about what we're feeling after 1 month of Red Sox baseball and what this first month could indicate for the rest of the 2023 season. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. As always, we start with the offense in these videos, and we got to start with Alex Verdugo, who is probably the key contributor to this Red Sox offense this weekend. Alex Verdugo ended up going 4 for 14 on the series. He had a walk-off hit in the middle game of this series, and he had a 3 RBI game in the third game of that series, which included a home run as well. Doogie really has been the man so far this year. If we're talking about takeaways after 1 month, it is how great Alex Verdugo looks on the field right now, both in the batter's box and in right field. He looks fantastic all around, and he is helping himself get momentum behind that extend Doogie talk going, because people are now clamoring for him to be extended for a long period of time. So if we're talking about 1 month takeaways, Alex Verdugo and the hot streak that he started this year on has to be at the top of the list. Outside of that, Jarren Duran remains pretty hot. He went 5 for 13 in this series with a couple of really funny ground rule doubles. They bounce barely over the third baseman's head and then right into the stands, and he's hitting the ball all over the place. He's honestly becoming a key piece to this Red Sox offense, which again, if we're talking about 1 month takeaways, that is something I never expected to say after the first month of this Red Sox season. Connor Wong had a really nice series with a mammoth home run in the last game. He went 5 for 8 in the last 2 games of this series. That's pretty impressive. Connor Wong has always been sort of known as a defensive first type guy. He was hitting really well in AAA, but at the major league level specifically, his defense was always great. It was his offense that never fully translated. If he could keep hitting like this or something close to this, he could very well earn himself a genuine starter role on this Red Sox team, because the athleticism is there. He can steal bases. He's great defensively. If he can add in some hitting potential behind the plate, he could be a really dangerous catcher and guy in this Red Sox lineup. Rafael Devers continues his bizarre sort of slump. He only went 2 for 11 in this series, but his slump also includes a clause somehow where he just only hits home runs when he makes contact, because he had another home run in this series, and it was one of the furthest home runs I've seen Rafi hit. This ball was absolutely crushed. So when he's making contact, it's going a long ways, but right now he's struggling to make consistent contact. We'll see if that can pick up over the next couple of weeks. Christian Arroyo is also starting to heat up at the plate, which would be absolutely huge for this Red Sox team. In his last 2 games of this series, he went 5 for 7 with 4 RBIs. That average is slowly creeping up, and like Connor Wong, if Christian Arroyo can be effective at the bottom of this lineup, and I'm not talking about hitting over 300 or anything, but being a competent hitter towards the bottom of this lineup and help turn it over to those guys who are really showing out so far this year, he could be massive for this Red Sox team. Masataka Yoshida now has a 10-game hitting streak. He only went 3 for 11 in this series, but did have a hit in every single game, so he did cool off a bit compared to what he was doing at an insane rate over the last 2 series, but he's still making solid contact. He's still pushing the ball the other way. He included a off-the-wall double in this series and an off-the-wall single that he tried to turn into a double in this series, so he's still looking fantastic at the plate. And overall, this series was great in terms of offense. There were times where in this series the Red Sox did struggle to put runners across the plate, and that's sort of been kind of exactly what we've seen over this first month of the season, where in general this Red Sox offense is fantastic. They finished the month with the 3rd most runs scored in Major League Baseball, so there's not really a ton of complaints we can talk about with this Red Sox offense, but I will say that once in a while you see games like the first game where you have opportunities to drive guys in and it just kind of falls flat. So consistency is one thing that we need to keep an eye on with this Red Sox offense, but by far and away, if we're talking about key takeaways from the first month of this season, the fact that the Red Sox offense looks dynamic, it looks deep, and it looks like it could be dangerous at all levels is by far and away, in my opinion, the biggest takeaway so far this Red Sox season. Let's talk about the pitching as well. As for the pitching in this series, Nick Pivetta got the ball game 1, and he was really kind of slightly below average. I don't really know if I'd call this a bad start, but it definitely wasn't a good start either. He went 5 innings, allowed 4 runs on 5 hits. He walked 2 and struck out 5. For a full month in the rotation, Nick Pivetta is giving you exactly what you'd expect him to give you, right? Which is back of the rotation type production, a guy who can go fairly deep into games and give you innings, but he's never going to be an ace or an all-star caliber pitcher. It's exactly what we kind of expected from Nick Pivetta, and this start kind of embodies that. Brayan Bello got the ball in game 2, and he looked much better. He looked fantastic on the mound, honestly. He also went 5 innings, allowed just 1 earned run though on 5 total hits. He only walked 2 batters and he struck out 6. By far and away the best start of his 2023 campaign. Again, very small sample size, but still, right? And if there's one thing we learned from the month that we have watched this 2023 Red Sox team, it's that guys like Brayan Bello, who have high potential in this Red Sox rotation, need to show that potential and need to actually get there and get there soon for this rotation to be relatively decent. And to see Brayan Bello settle down and have a start like that is absolutely fantastic news. Finally, Chris Sale wrapped this one up, and he came back for vengeance on the mound. He went 6 1/3 innings, allowing just 1 run on only 3 hits and struck out 5. The strikeouts are coming back a little bit. His location looked much better, and Sale through 1 month has been really all over the place, right? He's been good, he's been insane, he's been decent, and he's been terrible. But even through all of that and the stinker in Baltimore, he was able to finish the month really strong. And over his last 3 games, which includes the Baltimore series, he still has an ERA of just 3.64, which is insane. That's how good Chris Sale has been with that really terrible start sandwiched in between. So Chris Sale all over the place. That's probably one of the biggest takeaways in terms of rotation, is that Chris Sale still trying to find himself, coming back from not being a regular pitcher for 3 years. So hopefully we start to see him turn a corner, and hopefully this is a start that can propel him to that. As for the bullpen was decent in this series. I would say close to good, not good. There was some struggles. Ryan Brazier, for example, really struggled, and then John Schreiber gave up that funky hit to make him look much worse, but John Schreiber was pretty okay throughout the series. Obviously, you had Kenley Jansen blowing a save, but at the same time, too, when you're looking at this bullpen, you got rid of Caleb Ort in this series. Now Chris Martin's back in the pen, a more reliable reliever. John Schreiber came out yesterday. He looked much better than he did on Saturday, and you have Kenley Jansen, who was dealing with back tightness, and he should be good to go in a couple of days. So the problems with the Red Sox bullpen were kind of uncharacteristic and not something that I think is going to be a huge problem throughout the 2023 season. One thing to note about the Red Sox bullpen is that Brennan Bernardino looks fantastic so far. He has yet to let up an earned run in his time at the major leagues. He doesn't have a ton of strikeouts, but he does generate a ton of weak contact and continues to get outs. The Red Sox have sort of been missing that super reliable left-handed reliever, and I don't know if it's going to be Bernardino, but he has been a very welcome addition to this Red Sox bullpen. Overall, we know exactly how the first month's been in terms of pitching for this Red Sox team. They had one of the worst ERAs in Major League Baseball, and the starting pitching was all over the place, right? You had some really great starts mixed in there, you had some really bad starts mixed in there, and you had a lot of really mediocre starts as well. So going forward, in my opinion, the biggest thing the Red Sox need to work on is making sure that they get consistency out of their starting pitching. Now, the good news in this series is that 2 of the guys that I think going into the year, a lot of people had really high expectations for, including this Red Sox team, Chris Sale and Brayan Bello. If both of those guys are pitching to their potential, this rotation looks a lot better, and what we saw in this series was both of those guys do that. Hopefully this is a sign for things to come. Now, it's really hard to come to any conclusions about any pitching staff after just 1 month of a major league season, and there is time for for people to turn things around. So the biggest thing, in my opinion, coming out of 1 month when it comes to pitching is they need to start pitching consistently. If we can get to that point, this Red Sox team is in a really good place, because at the end of the day, 1 month into the regular season, the Boston Red Sox finished this month above 500. Yes, barely, but still above 500. They are no longer last place in their division. They are now tied for last place, but not alone in last place. And on top of that, after all of that, after being in last place, after the ups, after the downs, the Boston Red Sox have a wild card spot. If the season were to end today, the Boston Red Sox would be in the postseason, which is insane to say. And to me, after all of the struggles that we've seen through the first month, and with all of this baseball left to play, I'm going to say this series and this month were a success. But that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below. One, what did you think of this Red Sox series, the goods, the bads, and what do you think of this Red Sox team through 1 month? We're kind of at a 5th, a 6th, a 7th way through the season, so there's plenty of time to fix things. But what was your biggest takeaway for the first month of this Red Sox team? Let me know all your thoughts on those topics down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.